Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Tonight, we are going to be talking about remote viewing, the use through investigations, just for research in paranormal studies. And we have the pleasure of having Jessica Jones, paranormal investigator and a remote viewer. She's based out of Georgia. She's got a couple of shows, Remote View Investigations with Jessica Jones, and she's also on Spaced Out Radio. She's a weekend host. And so you can check her out there at spacedoutradio.com, check her show. And that remote viewing investigations that she has, I want to say it's, she'll correct me if she just said it too. I think it's Texas, I want to say it's back porch or front porch. I can't remember. We'll have to have them on and apologize for screwing up their name. Anyway, so yeah, Jessica, she has a lot, she has a real big background on the research that she's done paranormal. She's one of those I was watching a couple of her shows and it really intrigued me. Like one that was the Dyatlov Pass incident. We did a show on that, and we also, did another couple of episodes on some topics that she is really big into. Bigfoot for one, because the guys she has on with it, they're big on that topic. So without further delay, let's get right to it. Jessica Jones, remote viewing is right now.
Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is quite impossible. I need you. Then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right, Chris, how are you today, sir?
Wonderful.
Producer, I was a little slow on getting you there.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So just hey, Justin, how are you? April, Mark, Emma, Ellen, hey, welcome everybody. Tonight, like I said, we're going to be talking remote viewing and its use in investigations and just in general. Just the ins and outs of what is actual remote viewing. So at this time, let's bring on Jessica Jones. Jessica, how are you?
Hey guys, I'm good. How are y'all tonight?
Good. Yeah. Well, thanks.
Good.
Once, like we said before the show, thanks for joining. I'm really looking forward to this because, like I said, help me with it. What's her name? Was it Texas?
It's Texas Front Porch.
Front Porch. There we go. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got two of the words correct.
You were so close. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's. Yeah,
it probably has a back porch too. I don't know.
That'll be the secondary. That'll be the secondary channel. Where they do that.
It's a spin-off, right?
Yep. So here, pretty much like remote viewing. How I was introduced to you was in your remote viewing investigations YouTube channel. You did an remote viewing investigation of the Dyatlov Pass incident. And that was really fascinating because I think it was last year that we did an episode on that as well. And for me, that was one that was always just really intrigued me from the first time I heard it. And so as I was listening to it, it really got the perspective in. So for you, like, how did you go about, picking that, and what was the prep to get ready for you? Do you have to prep, like for the remote viewing, like how to do that part? So I'll let you take it.
Yeah.
before
Yeah, well, it all started because I had a show called Into the Portal on KGRA, as of last year, up until recently. And I had some guys on my show named Rob and Tex, and they're from Texas Front Porch, and they knew that I was a remote viewer, and Tex asked, hey, could you possibly remote view something for me? And I was like, sure. He said there was a double homicide at Brown Springs, Oklahoma, where they do a bunch of Bigfoot research, right? Because we're all Bigfoot field researchers. And so I was like, oh, sure. I don't usually do remote viewing for just random remote viewing stuff. I usually do it for either my team or to help find missing people and help do cold case stuff. Okay. For missing people and murder cases and things like that. So, well, anyways, fast forward to like a month, and those two guys, I was on their show to begin with, and then they came on my show. Okay. And I surprised them with my target. I had actually done a remote viewing target on those two people who were murdered. And so, it was actually really interesting. I found out that it was not a Bigfoot that killed them, like had been reported. It was people. So we thought that was kind of a cool idea to do a show about that. And we were kind of brainstorming, and Tex asked me, do you want to come on with our team and we can start doing a show and we'll co-host. And I was like, yeah, I'll remote view paranormal attacks and alleged paranormal attacks, right? So I started compiling a list of different, pretty mainstream paranormal mysteries of people that had been killed by Bigfoot, okay, basically, or a Yeti or a dogman. And I decided to look into all of them. And the first one on my list was the Dyatlov Pass. I thought that was really interesting, and it really caught my attention. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that a Russian Yeti had killed a bunch of people, allegedly.
Yes.
So I went ahead and I remote viewed it, but I immediately had so much information. It was like information overload when I remote viewed it that I had to break it down into like 4 different targets, because there were different groups of how the bodies were found. There was like 2 guys, and there was 3 people, and then there was like 4 more or something. They were found in like different sections. And so I kind of divided it all up, and just to get an idea of what happened to all those people. And sure enough, I did find that it was not a Russian Yeti that killed them. Okay. But yeah, there was a lot of hearsay and a lot of speculation as to what happened. And there's that one picture of that. It looked like a Yeti peeking out from behind a tree. And that's kind of the infamous picture that made everyone think that was a Yeti.
Because everybody saw the claw marks, what looked like claw marks on the tree, and the way that the tent was tattered, and that was one of the biggest ones. And I had even commented on there that from the research I did and from after doing the show, I'm pretty well convinced it was a military, something to do with the military. There was they were doing exercise, military, something. They got caught up in it. But yeah, that was the one thing. I never saw any evidence that would lead me to think that it was Yeti, Bigfoot, something like that type of attack. And so that was really cool when you're doing the stuff that you brought up that same thing too. I'm like, yeah, it seems too convenient.
It was a convenient scapegoat. Okay. And that's pretty much what I'm finding as a pattern in a lot of these attacks that I've been remote viewing, is that a Yeti and a Bigfoot usually get blamed for something that humans do. And, and after looking at the pictures and, it just made more sense that it was a cover up, and my remote viewing was 100% government cover up from the get go. It was definitely military. And I actually was able to even speak to some of the victims and talk to them a little bit. And the last group of them that were found were mutilated. Some of them, one woman's tongue had been removed, and their eyeballs were missing, and pieces of their skin were gone, and their faces and stuff. And so, but she told me that she had been mutilated while she was alive by very evil people. So, Yeah, it was pretty sad, but
Yeah,
I
that
did.
was, no, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I did the last group that was found, which was like months after the other bodies were found. I did get a weird little alien energy with that too. There was something ET related to that as well, and it was just a little added supernatural element to end it all off. But yeah, military.
Yeah, because I know like a lot of times like the the radiation. Well,
Yeah,
the guy's name's failing me right now, but one of them actually worked in that field,
he
and so
did.
that
The
would be
older
why
guy.
that'd be why his
Yeah,
clothing had those radioactive signatures, and so that was one of
yeah.
those that part was easily explained too. But it was one of those. So with remote viewing as that part, what led you to start using this as an investigative tool, and kind of like a part B to, how did you become, I'm trying to think of the words are failing me today, but the ability to remote view, how did you develop this would be the best
Okay.
way to.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even really know what remote viewing was until I was taught remote viewing. So I have been a Bigfoot field researcher, paranormal field researcher for 11 years. And the first time I went out with my team, which I had not actually joined the team when I went on my first expedition with them, I had a tremendous amount of ET and UFO activity when I was out in the field doing Bigfoot research. And our whole team did. And so the head of my team is an amazing remote viewer and well trained and had been doing it for many years. And so he said, well, hey, we have all these people that whenever we've gone out to do Bigfoot research, we've had a bunch of other paranormal stuff going on in the environment. And I think that we should all learn remote viewing, and I'm going to teach you guys. So we spent the next several years, doing pretty extensive training in remote viewing. The whole team. I mean, we've never stopped training, really. I mean, it's been a couple of years or maybe a year or so since we've actually sat down and done some training. But like I said, it's been 11 years. So we started doing that so that we could examine all that weird stuff that was happening to us when we were out in the woods, like these ET encounters. And my team has actually encountered what we call a portal. We have it documented on film, and we've sent, yeah.
Where
Portals.
was that portal at? Where was that portal at?
It is an undisclosed location.
Ah, okay. Let me see.
But it's in the South. It's here in the South somewhere.
I was trying to get information that we're not going to get. So I tried.
Nice try. Nice try.
So have you literally been doing this since 2014, or you started other endeavors in 2014? Because on your bio, I was reading 2014, or you just started remote viewing 11 years ago?
No. I started from now. It's been 11 years. Yeah. No, I had my son in 2014, and I had been doing it for a little while before that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we decided we would, all learn remote viewing, and and we've used it for being out in the field, and it's not just to remote view things like events that happen. It's also, I help find missing people sometimes, and help solve cold cases and stuff like that. But better yet, it just is a tool to get us all more psychically switched on. And so we find that when you have more people who are psychically aware and of the surroundings and the energies around you, then we seem to have more activity out there, and we're more prone to it. We're more, aware of it. So it really helps when it comes to paranormal research.
And I was, as you were just saying that, I was just thinking, so how, because everybody has the potential. That's one of the things. I don't think there's any of just like anything, like artists. Some people just have a natural gift. They're just, no matter training, you're never going to get, you're not going to be able to learn to become Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
But everybody has that through practice. You can do it. So how does somebody, like, what would you say, like this, if you can start doing this, this, you can kind of get an idea of whether or not somebody has that potential. How would you tell people to, the steps, like if you could do this,
Yeah.
you might have that potential right now.
Yeah, well, everybody has the potential. Everybody. We're all psychic. Every single human on this planet is psychic. And we have been so far removed from that ability from, it's like we've been under attack, like our third eye, our pineal gland, all that has been under attack for a long time. I mean, just think of all the fluoride we've got in our water and all the processed foods that we're eating and all this fear-based society that we're living in. It's just fear and all this craziness coming out your television every day. As long as everybody's got this heightened sense of awareness and fear of something bad's always going to happen. And you turn on the news and it's first of all, just turn your TVs off. Okay. Turn your TV off. That would be like my number one thing. Get a good water filter. Okay. And just start, if you want to enhance your psychic abilities or come back into tune with them, which we all need to do, just start meditating. Turn the TV off. Okay. Start listening to those binaural beats and stuff. There's a really great program called Monroe Gateway. And that's a good place to start. If anybody wants to start trying to get your brain waves working, in sync, there's a program called HemiSync. And I highly recommend that. But yeah, I mean, anybody can learn remote viewing. There's different modes of it. And I've been trained in several of them. But the one that I use for I do a show every Friday night with the remote viewing, the paranormal attacks and stuff. And it's not all attacks, by the way. Like Friday night, I guess, Wednesday. Friday, I'm doing the orbs that fly over crop circles. Okay, so I'm remote viewing those orbs that are actually making crop circles and stuff. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, those are cool. I mean, if anybody's never seen that, just you see that orb fly over the field and then you just see the crop circle disappear. Now that was so as those steps. Now, is that something like your site, the cryptidhuntress.com? Do you have information there on that, or do you have a good spot, or source where you could send people that way? This is, I'd say, start here and start figuring out.
Well, the site my go-to site is like the Silva, I think it's Silva Mind Control website, not Silva Learning, but Silva Mind Control, I think is what it's called. But any kind of remote viewing site, I don't have all of the resources on my website, but I tell people, if you want the resources, contact me through my website and I'll send them to you. But anybody can find them. They're all online. Just Google remote viewing and all sorts of stuff pops up. So it's just all about getting back in touch with our psychic abilities. And, that's everything from just recognizing energy shifts and, walking in one room and noticing how the energy changes and, notice how you feel around certain people. Like, do you feel good or do you feel bad? Like, you can measure like people's energy fields and stuff, especially if you have dowsing rods, if you guys know what those are.
Oh yeah.
We've practiced this before because we've all been taught dowsing too. Like everybody on my team has some sort of specialty and we all teach each other those specialties. So we have one guy who's like the best dowser ever. And so he's taught us all dowsing. So we all have our dowsing rods and we've done experiments where we partner up and one of us will get really mad and think like the worst thoughts about the other person, which is kind of hard for me because I like everybody, but we're trying to do an experiment. So you think a bad thought and as opposed to thinking beautiful thoughts and being loving and the dowsing rods will move in different patterns according to whether someone's mad or happy and stuff. I mean, it's a measurable energy that people put off. So I don't know, it's just really interesting.
Yeah. Because we had Maria Wheatley on, that was when she was talking about that too, and about the dowsing rods. And that's, growing up, I mean, it was dowsing rods were the devil.
Yeah,
that was a witchcraft. It's right. And then when you come in here, it's like, I'm pretty sure the devil's not helping you find water.
Well, that's the thing. My dad always had the stick, and he would find water with his branch. Yeah,
he just go here. It's like
it's like a forked branch.
Don't drink from that. That's a witch well. I'm like, it's like why? It helps you find why. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's like why does it work this way? Because we had the Greater Boston Paranormal Associates that we've had on as well. That's actually something that they use during their paranormal investigations.
Yeah, I
use the
use
dowsing
them.
rods as well. Yeah, and have you found that you get really good results from that test, like when you're doing that? Because they seem to get some
Yeah.
pretty good results from those.
Oh yeah, we get good results with that, and I use my pendulum sometimes and stuff. But once you start getting out in the field and you start trusting your intuition and trusting your gut so much, you don't need that stuff anymore. It sounds crazy, but it's true. Once you start going with your gut never lies.
So once you do a remote viewing session, does your energy feel drained after you put so much energy into it? Because some people say they're just tired after they put so much energy into a remote viewing session. So how would you describe your feeling after a remote viewing session?
Well, it depends on if it's like a bloody, gory murder or like if it's just an orb flying over a crop circle. Totally, there's two different types, and some of them are very draining, and especially if you're dealing with someone who has like a mental illness, or you're dealing with you're viewing someone that has their thoughts are all over the place, and like you're trying to get in their head or just whatever. It's especially the ones where there's death. Those are really draining for me. No matter what. Yeah.
This doesn't, the question itself sounds like like one of those setup, attack type things, but it's not. It's one of those, because for me, I look in the scientific basis thing, like when you do these remote views for like these cold cases and stuff, what is your success rate on these things? Because that's one of the things, like when people really look at it, like, because it really intrigues me, because I've seen them used for investigations, and it's one of those, especially if you have a really high success rate, it's like, why, line up, it's like, here, you got to flip through all these cold case files because, we need to get these things solved.
Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of those. I only do like emergency ones, or, whenever I'm tasked with one, I don't go looking for them usually because they're so draining, but I'm very on target with most of those, especially anything that's like a high priority target. I'm usually on target. Now I have to tell you, I've never found a person who was living. They're all dead. Everyone I've ever done, they were deceased. And that's why I try not to do a lot of them, because they are so draining, and it'll take my energy for like a week or so, doing one.
When you say, like, for people, like when they say here, you say like targets. Now, when you refer to it as a target, are you referring to the person themselves? Are you referring to a time, a location? What's the main thing that you refer to, like, or is it all of the above?
Well, it depends on what the target is.
Well, it would be like, I think, like,
it can be any of it.
A murder, like one of the serial killers thing, and they got you all the information. Yes. Like, would you target just the victim, or are you doing the killer?
They would all be separate. They could be separate targets. So, like, I was actually contacted by a family member of a person who was brutally murdered here in Atlanta. I think it was last year, and this family member contacted me out of the blue and found me, and not to get into details or anything, but she was upset that her family member had been murdered, and the police weren't really saying a whole lot about it, and they didn't have leads and things like that. So she just was like, well, hey, do you mind looking at this for me and for our family, just so we can have some closure? And so I did. I actually contacted my team and put it out there if anybody else wanted to do it too, to remote view with me. And we came up with information that, like the police department was hiding information from the public, and it wasn't just one, it was a serial killer going around murdering people. And so we're seeing things that, it's hard to look at. And it's interesting stuff, but I was able to get an idea of who murdered her, not a name. Well, I did get a name actually, but and one of the other people on my team, there were only two of us that ended up doing it, because most people don't want to have to see this kind of stuff. And I'm always up for the task though. So my partner and I guess you could say, we both got the same information, doing basically, we usually do blind targets. So we don't even know what we're remote viewing. It's just a set of numbers. And that's a really good way to do it. It's basically a blind study, and that's right.
Yeah. And so for that, how do you decompress? And that's, that's one thing.
Yeah,
when you're looking
at a good question.
Yeah. Cause it's, thinking about you, like, just the humanity side, it's like, Okay, you're helping me find this, this cold case, this killer. You're viewing this stuff. You're seeing the scenes that only the police and the, detectives have seen. So how do you get that, I mean, basically, for lack of better terms, how do you etch a sketch that out of your mind? I mean, that you just, clear it and then just, you don't have to see it anymore.
Yeah. I wish it was that easy.
Yeah.
I do. Therein lies the issue kind of with doing remote viewing cases like that, is that it can be traumatic. Now we do have ways of a process of protecting ourselves energetically. And so I always do that. And, and we have to shut it down. At the end, it's just like doing any kind of paranormal, hunt, like you go on a ghost hunt. And, if someone like, I don't do Ouija boards and stuff like that, but when people do them, they have to shut the energy down or else, right? It's like, or else like ghosts and spirits get all rummaging through your house and stuff. So, I shut it down, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect me down to, for the next while. So, yeah. I mean, I quit watching those shows. Like my favorite show used to be The First 48. And now after doing all this, I don't watch that anymore. Yeah. I'm like, I live it now.
I'm just thinking, you can imagine, it's like, ooh, that's not what happened.
I know, right? They got that wrong.
I wonder, does the police not want to reach out more to psychic remote viewers because it discredits their work? Like, I mean, I wonder, is that a reason why they don't reach out more? If there's more people like you that has that ability to remote view, they could get closer to some of the families. Is it just not on their top? I wonder, is it just not on their top priority list? Like, we walked over this field 7 times and we didn't see nothing, but the remote viewers say the body's here and we found it. So now we don't get the credit. The remote viewer gets the credit. So I wonder, is that one of the reasons why they don't use remote viewers as much as I think they should?
Actually, I think they do use psychics and remote viewers more than they admit. Because I don't do targets usually unless it's passed down from, there's law enforcement asking us to do things. And, but there's also, I've done a target for a pretty well-known crime, I guess you call it like a crime investigation kind of cold case show, which shall remain nameless. And I actually located where this body was and what happened to him. And they never gave me any credit for it. They didn't even mention it.
Oh,
so, and it's
terrible.
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
I know, but still, it's like, you just have to, it's like, at least say something like, we got some credible tips that led us to, at least do something, not like, hey, look what I just discovered.
Well, they asked me, and at the time, the body had not been found yet. They didn't know where he was. And this was a case here in Georgia, actually, not too far from where I live. And they had not found him. And I said, it was this friend that did it, that he was with that night. And the person was like, no, that couldn't happen. We interviewed him. And they totally discounted everything that I told them. And I was like, it's not my opinion. This is my data. And lo and behold, about a month later, they found his body. And everything that had happened was in my data. So,
wow.
It is what it is. It is what it is. But there is a stigma to it. You're right. Absolutely. There's a stigma. And, like I said, it is what it is. I never went public with any of this stuff that I do, especially not my Bigfoot research. I worked in government for almost 20 years. And so, it wasn't something that was on the top of my list, letting everyone know that I'm out in the woods chasing a big Sasquatch, on the weekdays and the weekends. So, and remote viewing and all that stuff, it was not something I really talked about because like I said, there's a stigma.
Yeah, that was, and it was just weird because it's like, for me, I'm just thinking, if this is so successful, why make it such this mystery thing? I mean, it would seem to be, because, like, going back to my previous question, if, and you answered it almost perfectly right there. It's, 100%. Everything I said was dead on, look, just all these points. So at that point, you would think that police force would be, if we ever have a thing that we can't solve, we need to contact Jessica. That's one of the first things, like, the trail's gone cold, hey, Jessica, we need you to come, and give you the information. Cause that's what, to me, that seems like an absolute logical next step in the investigation.
Well, for this is interesting. I believe there's a website where you can go and pull up like cold cases and stuff of things that have happened. And so I can't say that my team hasn't pulled some of those before just for practice and stuff. And, I just had one a couple of months ago, actually, of a gentleman that was found, a body, not too far from where I live as well. And, and I was able to kind of figure out what happened to him. And, but I don't know, it's stuff that we're able to do. And, it's not utilized very often, I guess. I mean, I honestly think that law enforcement does use it, but they just don't admit it, probably.
And then, the skeptic question would be, it just, especially like these things they would ask, about like the Bigfoot investigations. It's like, why has Bigfoot not been located?
He has been located. They're all over the place.
Yeah. And this, because it's one of those things, everybody's like, we have all the technology. So it's like, why do we not have a physical, Bigfoot, that we've
that's
studied?
That's a whole other, show, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because it's, I believe that they're interdimensional and they're able to change their vibration and their body densities. I mean, I've been out in the woods long enough to know there's definitely an X factor to those things. So,
well, you'd have to, because because you guys have done investigations, because there seems to be a real correlation between UFO and heavenly activity at the same time. I mean, I even heard one jokingly just basically said, I mean, I think Star Wars based Chewbacca and the Wookiee off of Bigfoot anyway, but there's always been a joke. It's like, what if that is actually what it is? It's a spacefaring race, and they just basically pop in, they go, we just happen to be out in the woods at the time that they're doing a little away mission, and we catch it. And then right at the time, like stuff, they're gone, and just like you said, just because it seems one of those, for the sounds, there's all this evidence, but it's just, for me, it's always been the weird thing. It's just, we haven't been able to capture the physical side of Bigfoot. And that's been the weirdest thing. It's just, with everybody out there searching, we should have found a bone. We should have found something, by now that would be like, this isn't a bear. This isn't, this is some large primate type thing that we don't know about. And that's some of the evidence for me that's always been the biggest mystery, is like why this hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if, if you guys are you guys closing in on this? I mean, is this something, because that's been the curiosity for me. It's just like, when is this going to be solved?
I mean, we've kind of graduated from Bigfoot, actually. Like, we know they're out there. And so my team we started off as a Bigfoot field research team. And now there's just so much other craziness out in the woods. Like, we know they're there and we respect that there's Bigfoots out there, and we're there to capture them on film or whatever, but we're dealing with portals now, and we're dealing with aliens and interdimensional stuff going on. So we're not all just Bigfoot anymore. So yeah, I mean, good luck finding them and bringing a body in. I mean, that's what everybody wants, but I think that we're past that, because we're more on we're seeing that there's more of like an energetic, phenomenon to these things, and you're not going to catch one. You're just probably not. They're able to cloak and disappear out of thin air, and there's something to that. And so, like I say, good luck.
It's almost like Predator, where it does the camera. Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's been one of the biggest things. Like, when you guys do your research, it's just, it's like, you're out there in the woods, you definitely hear some stuff that's not the normal, and that's where one of those things where it's like, I want to get out there. I mean, I've been out in the woods many times. There's always stuff that you can't explain. There's sounds. It's not a squirrel. It's not a rabbit, crawling around and thing. I mean, you can hear, it's a definite sound that's not a normal, but then it's just one of those, I'm waiting for a time when we can just get that evidence, that's just proof. Cause that's one of the things that's just, like I always say, for the love of God, don't shoot it. Let's find it. It's like,
well, most people that had the opportunity to shoot one, that had one in their sights, they couldn't do it because they're too human. They look like a human, and it would be, to them, they said it would feel like they were murdering a human. So, you know, there's like a human element to them. It's very human like, just gigantic and very hairy. So
Well, I'm surprised, you know, especially with the cryptid research, I'm surprised more people haven't done the bounty thing like Oklahoma did, because
well,
that's
and I'm glad they haven't. It's extremely dangerous for, you know, people like myself and hunters even that are out in the woods. When you give someone access and the okay to go shoot a bipedal, you know, hominid looking thing, I mean, they're going to end up shooting humans. So you have to think about that.
Oh yeah, no,
Very dangerous.
I'm surprised. I mean, you want to talk about a tourist, you know, that's a fantastic way to bring tourism dollars into your state.
But it's also a good way to get people really upset with you.
Shot. Yeah, I know. That's like, don't trespass. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that was definitely in Oklahoma. I had there's an author that lives there named John Vandeventer, who was on my show a couple months ago. And he's all about the they call it looks like Honobia, but it's Honubi Bigfoot. They have a big Bigfoot festival there. And yeah, we talked about this on my show, was the Bigfoot bounty. I mean, it was millions of dollars to bring in. I guess they changed the wording in it down the road, because it was like bring one in, but then they were like, it's got to be unharmed, and you know, it has to be humanely brought in a cage or something. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous. But
it has to be captured, you know,
alive. It makes sense. I mean, a lot of people want to see a body. They want to see one, you know. Now let me tell you, you can go online and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of videos of them that are legitimate online. Okay. A lot of them there's some hoaxes, of course. But there's a lot of legitimate videos out there. So just use your discernment.
Oh yeah. When that's one of the things. It's, you know, for me, I come living in Oregon for so long. I mean, we're there with the infamous Patty, you know, film. You know, that was 3 hours away from where I lived.
Really?
And so it was, you know, so I know that area quite well. And so it was one of those, I'm a believer in that film. I don't think it was staged.
Oh no, I'd have to say that was real. It was very real. It
seemed, you know, it's, despite the claims, I mean, it's just the movement and stuff. It really seems weird that two guys could be riding out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, people don't understand where it was filmed. This wasn't along a road.
No.
You know, so this isn't just something like you just have somebody hanging out there waiting for you two to come riding along, and then like, hey, you know, Bob, grab the camera, you know, jump down and start filming. And that's it's there, you know. So I believe some of those ones, there's just some of the ones, I think, unfortunately, it's like people are so desperate for this proof, you know, they're willing to fake it. Well, that muddies the waters, you know, because then you have groups that they're like, we're Bigfoot. It's like, you're one of those. You know, and I think that's the problem is, and I don't know if you guys have encountered this, and I've always said that it's just, there has to be a little bit of emphasis on not attacking the reporter, you know, believing them that they've seen something, but on the multiple reports requiring something more than just, you know, I saw it. You know, it's like, you've got to be able to, you know, show something. If you're seeing it every day, you've got to start being able to show us, you know, what do they like to do? You know, what do they do? What do they, you know, those kind of evidence. And that seems to be the ones where you can really start separating the ones that are just looking for, you know, attention, and the ones that are truly finding it, because they should start noticing patterns. Like you said, when you go out there, you start seeing something, you can start recording these things. And I don't know if you've encountered that too. And like, what's your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I have to be honest with you. I have never seen one face to face up close before. And I've been out in the woods for 11 years. I've never, I mean, I've seen them from a distance. I have experienced them. I believe the first encounter I ever had was potentially a cloaked Bigfoot. Something ran up behind me and knocked my legs out from underneath me, and there was nothing there.
Oh, wow.
And all the while, all the guys were watching me in their FLIRs, in their thermals, walk up a hill by myself towards a tree line. And there was nothing there, but they saw me get tripped up and, you know, jump up in the air from something sweeping my legs out. So it was pretty wild, but it wasn't like malicious or anything. It just, you know, I heard it, I felt it, and then it ran right past me, but there was nothing there. So you know, they have interesting abilities.
I'm just like the science side of it is just like, this seems like one of those where we have multiple styles of cameras, whether it's, ultraviolet, you just go through just like this whole spectrum and just like film to see. Cause this is one of the, it's like really cool. It's like how this didn't even show up on like heat signature, but then you could clearly see yourself knocked over.
Yeah.
So there's a supernatural, effect.
There's definitely a supernatural element to them. I mean, and I've had a lot of my teammates and people that I go out and I research with people from all over the country, and and I've had a lot of them on my show, and and I try to bring just people that I know and trust onto my show, so that because I know our research is real and I know that I've experienced things with these people, so it gives more credibility, and so they'll tell stories about how we're following track lines out in the field. My team has a place we research we've called the Meadow, okay, and that's where the portal opened up. And so the Meadow, we'll be out there and there'll be track lines out there that just disappear into thin air. And it's like whatever was out there walking, these huge human looking footprints disappear into thin air, and we'll hear footsteps around camp at night. And then a flash of light will happen like a lightning bolt, and then they'll stop. So, things like that happen. And we're like, well, maybe that was a portal opening or closing. And, we don't know. Honestly, the more that we research, the less we know,
Well, yeah, because it always brings up more questions, so that's usually in a proper, when you properly investigate something and do your research, usually you do end up with more questions than you do answers, because things will come up that you hadn't even considered before. And that's
right.
Yeah. And so I was, when you're, so like not only through these investigations, is there certain topics like you try to avoid, like when you're going to do the remote viewing? I mean, because I know a lot of people, some people are sketchy about the Wendigo, the Skinwalker, and when you have like Skinwalker Ranch, they're a little hesitant to, call out like the Skinwalkers and stuff, because it just what they're known to do. I mean, is there any of those that you avoid doing as remote viewing, or are you pretty much open to, to investigating it?
I have remote viewed the Beast of LBL, so that pretty much tops everything. Okay.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I remote viewed. There's a story about the siege at Lockett Ranch. The Dogman siege. I did that one last week. I don't know, that was a iffy story personally, but the Beast of LBL was real for sure, and murdered many people, and they're still there today. So y'all be careful if anybody goes to the LBL up in Kentucky. But yeah, no, I haven't shied away from anything yet. Nope.
And that's the Beast of the Land Between the Lakes, correct?
Yes, the Beast of the Land Between the Lakes. That's right.
Now that one real quick, while you're talking about, now was that one considered in a way kind of relative of the Dogman?
It is a Dogman.
To the one, because I know it looks a little different. Like it's like one of the drawings, it almost has a bat like a facial structure.
Well, I have my own drawings of what I saw, and it was more of a hyena type with ears sticking up on top of its head. So there's like 6 different types of dogmen. Okay, 6 or 7, and this was I don't know the number, but it was the type that looks like more like a hyena without so much hair on it.
Everybody get out your glasses.
It's savage. Yeah, that's not what I saw actually.
Yeah,
when I remote viewed
that's
it.
one of the ones
now,
that they had it. And that's why it's like that. It looks like it related.
It looks like a bat squatch, right? We call it bat squatch.
Yeah.
So okay, that's not what I saw. Now, I from what I understand, that picture was from an alleged eyewitness who was there when that happened. Well, I can also say that I can't say if this person was there or not, but he did not show up in my data. He was nowhere in my data when I was remote viewing the attack. So use that as you will. I don't know. I'm not here to disprove anything.
Somebody's not telling the truth.
I don't know. I'm just saying. Doesn't mean he wasn't there. It's just that he was not in the environment when I remote viewed the family dying. So, and yes, it did happen. And it was another cover up. A lot of these, there's a lot of government cover ups, and like I don't know, the national parks, these state parks, there's a lot of activity in these places.
And I think
got to be careful.
It kind of goes to and that was with remote viewing. Have you taken the time yet to like some of the missing, like, because you have the missing 411, you have the people, have you tried to view the cave system? Because there's always that rumor that there's creatures underneath the ground, and so that's why I was wondering if you've tackled that.
I have not specifically looked at the creatures underground. Now, I did do a show on the cave systems as it pertains to Bigfoot and things like that, because one of the guys on my team is a cave specialist. Okay, so I brought him on, and we talked about, because we hear a lot about the missing 411 and how people think that there are Bigfoots living in the cave systems, and they're just kidnapping everybody and taking them down there to live in their caves or to eat them or whatever. And so I brought him on, and we talked about it. I did not remote view that, but we did talk, but he's a remote viewer too, actually. But we did discuss it. And, I think that, the Bigfoots do probably use some of them as, like a highway kind of and a place to live, but I'm not so sold on that. That's where these missing people are going. Honestly, my team has a portal opening, and we sent 2 teammates inside of it, and their heat signatures disappeared. And then the environment changed for them, and they turned around and walked out. They didn't even know they were in a portal.
Wow.
So I think, and then there was like a big cube in the middle of a field. And then as soon as they walked out of it, it shrunk down and it moved and it disappeared. So I think that could be where a lot of these missing people are going.
And I've kind of used this example in several shows, but it's like the TV show Fringe. So have you watched that one? No, I don't even watch TV. Oh my gosh, that one's fantastic. Because that one's it's an older one that was out there. It was in a way kind of X-File-ish. It was basically, there was portals. The scientists figured out a way to open up a portal to an alternate universe, which was just like ours, but their Statue of Liberty was shiny copper. There was subtle there's changes in the one, and that's where I've always wondered, kind of like these things, like you said, they kind of stepped through and then they came back. So you wonder if a window portal, however you want to phrase it, has opened up, and that's how they've gone, because that's how they disappeared, because they should still be there. Yeah, it's really weird. I've been fascinated with like timeline shifts and time slips and, the portals. And it's all kind of coming together in like some weird, it's like it's kind of related, all of it. And just jumping timelines and switching timelines. You see, like, I know this, it may not make a lot of sense, but I feel like we're all living on different timelines. Like, it's almost like our whole country and the world is divided into like some people. Like, how many people do y'all know that are like living in a whole other world than you right now? It's like you're not living in the same reality. And then you throw CERN in on top of that, and like the Mandela effect and all that stuff. It's just all a big weird mix of just weird stuff going on. Yeah, I was just going to say that. It's like because we did an episode on CERN as well, and that was one where we talked kind of about that, where there's that rumor that these experiments have kind of taken, these timelines and has messed it up. Yeah. And that's why things seem, for a lot of people, that's why some things just suddenly it feels off. Yeah. Yeah. And King mentioned that too. It seems like paranormal activities and that's one of those things. It's like, it seems like the veil has been thinned. Just however you want to describe it. Yeah. Yeah. The veil, well, that I did another show about this last week or 2 weeks ago about the veil being thinned. And really what that is, it's just the Earth's vibration is changing. Okay. Everything is getting higher. It's getting more intense. Like the Earth's vibration, the frequency is rising, and we have to rise with it, because in order to survive, basically, okay, we're all surviving, because what's happening right now is that when they say the veil is thinning, right, to me, and I may be wrong, I may not be right, but I believe that
it's allowing us to see things that we couldn't see before. Okay. The vibration of everything is changing. And so who's to say all this hasn't been here all along and we just couldn't see it? But now the Earth's vibration, our vibrations are changing. Everything's changing. And so we're able to see things. There's more UFO sightings, reports. There's more Bigfoot sightings right now than ever before, according to what, I have a show on cryptids, and so that's all I hear all day, every day. But
do you think it helped with COVID? It seems weird to say that with COVID.
Yeah.
Do you think it helped with COVID too, that more people were, they couldn't do their normal activities. So now they're looking up, they're looking around themselves. And now they're actually seeing these things. Because we talked about like Dogman. I could honestly say I haven't really heard much about it. I mean, this was obscure, but now it seems like everybody's talking about Dogman sightings. And I can honestly say at, 5-6 years ago, to me, it was a Hollywood
werewolves, right?
Yeah, it's just something like that, but just the actual Dogman sightings. So it seems like they've really ticked up, and it's either more people are looking for it, or people have started figuring out distinctions between that and Bigfoot, and that's why it's just not being lumped in together.
I don't think that they're even related. I used to think that Dogman and Bigfoots were like cousins or kind of the same beast. But through all the remote viewing that I've done, I don't think that they're genetically related or anything. I think that they're a whole different species, like a whole different breed. And most of them are a little more violent, than most Bigfoots and stuff. But yeah, it's out there, and now people are actually more prone to talking about it. There's more shows on TV about this stuff, and with all the uptick and all of the and all the sightings, it's just making it easier for people to talk about. And people like us talking about it on podcasts and stuff. It makes it more mainstream, really, in a way, because people like us, we're just like normal everyday people are having experiences. And I'm not going to say we're not crazy, but we're all a little crazy, and we can all be crazy together because we're all seeing this stuff.
It's, for me, it's one of those, that's been those mystery things, like where it all of a sudden just, where these things came from. But it makes sense now as more people are doing their investigations, that it would logically seem that, more people would have these sightings, more people would be able to differentiate what's going on. So with the remote viewing, like you just said, what details, are you able to see about these? Because that's one of the things I've always been curious about. What do they eat? What are they doing? I mean, because just anything in nature, there's a set reason for them to be walking around. Deer don't just walk around to walk around. They're looking for food. They're looking for, mating, whatever it is. So through your investigations, what seems to be the intent, of Dogman, Bigfoot? What are they after?
Okay, so this is interesting, because the only ones that I've remote viewed for my show with the attacks are attacking people. Okay, so they're out for blood. Okay, they're going after these people, and some of the people are being eaten. They're eating humans, some of them, but it's only because the humans have encroached on their territory. Okay, and these things are, like up in Alaska, I remote viewed the Portlock, Alaska case, where the entire village, the entire town, evacuated for good, never went back, because 38, I believe, people went missing, and a lot of those people, their bodies washed up on shore, and they were missing arms and heads and legs and stuff. So, and they were pulled apart, and it was really gross and very crazy. But I remote viewed that. They said that there was a big, gigantic Bigfoot that was attacking people. Well, I looked into it, and it was, they had gone to that town and created a cannery or a fishery. Okay. So you got to think, like, these Bigfoots had been there for hundreds of years. These things were like ancient on this land. They're indigenous there. And a company came and put a huge fishery, like a cannery there, and started getting all their fish supply. So, there's these crazy humans that come in there and were stealing all their food, basically. And so when people would wander off in the woods to go chop wood to make houses or to go hunt, a lot of them were crossing over the zone where, that's you cross that line, the Bigfoots are going to get you. And that's what happened. So, but yeah, as far as, if we wanted to look into what they're eating, I mean, I can remote view that. You can remote view anything. But, just from experience, a lot of the Bigfoots are eating farm animals and stuff, and deer, domestic animals, unfortunately. Stuff
So
like that.
so Bigfoot, because that's one of those things I'll be honest, it's like I've never really looked and heard, too much about them being carnivores. More, it's just because there's a lot of stuff. It seems like with the Dogman, it seems like there's a lot of that, the killing aspect. But with Bigfoot, there doesn't seem to be a huge, bloody trail, of carnage left over. It just seems to be, they've been walking around, you'll see them moving around your tents, doing stuff like that. But I don't think I've heard like dogs missing and that's
not
so
really.
That's one. Yeah. And that's, so for me, I was just thinking like that Alaska one, has there been any, when you're doing these things, has there been any military crossover where it seems like it's a military program that's involved? Because you have, that's the rumor of like Chupacabra, that was an experiment gone, that escaped. Yeah. And that's where that creature came about.
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting you say that, because I did pick up on some interesting data with that beast of LBL. There could be, I mean, I did get in my data that some of them, because there's more than one, there's a lot, there's several there. And some of them actually did escape from some sort of facility. And it seemed like they had been caged or something. So maybe, perhaps, I did pick up that vibe on some of those. Now, we've been out in the woods. My team has been out in the woods and at different locations. There's one particular location that we don't give our places away, but it's here in the South. And they were out doing some research, and police officers, military guys in full SWAT team uniforms and guns and everything came walking out of the woods. And when asked, like, well, what are y'all doing here? They told my team, they're like, well, we're doing the same thing you're doing. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think just from the stories, the Dogman for me is the one that would, I think out of all of them, I think that's the one that would be the scariest encounter. Realistic, for that one. It's Bigfoot. I think it would just be more of like, oh my God, Bigfoot, there's Bigfoot. I don't know if I would have as much of the fear aspect as just the Dogman. Something like that seems like that's an instant, threat. Yeah. That is, because you have an apex carnivore, whereas Bigfoot seems to have more of like that herbivore, vibe, where it's more
they
like
eat berries and stuff,
Yep.
They're picking vegetables out of the garden,
Yeah, they get attacked.
Dogman, you gotta watch out.
Yeah. So there's, okay. So we're kind of on the same, wasn't too far off with that one. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, but you'll see Bigfoot, carrying a deer, slinging a deer over its shoulder or something every now and then, so, I think they're like humans. They like a variety of food, probably. They just don't have fast food out there. Probably their fast food is like a rabbit. So
Now,
do you, oh no, go ahead, Chris.
I was just wondering why we can't find any DNA. I mean, they brush against trees. I mean, the hair would obviously be different. It wouldn't test to a raccoon. It wouldn't test to a fox or a coyote. I mean, I was just wondering why we can't find any DNA.
They have. They found it. I mean, there have been studies done. Yeah, Melba Ketchum actually did a study. And I think that there were people, for whatever reasons, I talked about this with Ron Moorhead last Saturday night on my show. You get discounted and, smear campaigns and all that once you get too close to the truth. And, in some ways, maybe there's somebody somewhere that thinks that the public and the masses aren't ready for the disclosure yet. It's just not time to disclose it. But there's DNA. There have been studies done. And, I mean, it's just not out in the public because it gets silenced.
I would have been spooked when the military came out the woods and said they're looking for the same thing we're looking for. I'd be like, so what is that? And
straight out of X-Files.
Yeah. I know. Lucky they didn't detain y'all for questioning or nothing like that. I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, but they were out. They knew that. I guess they knew that my team were a bunch of Bigfoot dudes, and some of them are former law enforcement and military too. So
yeah, so they know their way. Yeah, that's what. So with you, as we're wrapping up here, so I got a couple more. Now, for when it comes to your typical like haunted locations, do you do a lot with remote viewing when it comes to that side of the paranormal, or do you stick more towards just the cryptid and the UFO, that side?
It's all related. So I mean, at the Meadow where we do our research, a lot of it, we do the ST session out there. Like we have ghost boxes. I mean, all of my equipment that I carry out there, which I don't carry much anymore. Like I just don't carry it like I used to, but it's all the same as ghost hunting equipment. It's just that when we're out there, I don't do a lot of remote viewing of like ghosts and stuff like that. Right now, the most remote viewing I'm doing is for my show. And so it's Dogman and Bigfoot and orbs and stuff like that. So, I mean, but the orbs, I mean, what is an orb? We don't know what these orbs are. So
yeah, because they like, especially like with orbs, like you're saying, these go back to, First Nation lore. They talk about this all the time where it's just, as there's depictions of these different orbs that go around and they follow along and they do. So there's definitely something to this phenomenon, and it seems that like the activity has stepped up in the last few years. Like there's really seems to be a ramp up, but that and that's one of the. I'd be curious to find out like how do these orbs form? What are they? Are they a manifestation of energy, or are they actually something physical?
They're all different though. Okay. So as much time as I spent in the woods, I have encountered so many different types of orbs. And, there's the kind that are transparent and translucent. There are some that are solid, like a metallic ball. There are some, I've seen a video, a CCTV video of somebody's backyard where some metallic looking solid orbs flew from the sky and landed on the ground and turned into aliens. And then they turned back into an orb and shot back into the sky. So I've seen a lot of weird stuff. These orbs, like I said, they're all different. I mean, we've seen different colored light orbs, some that look like the moon or I saw one that looked like the moon, and it just kind of floated down behind the tree line one night. I mean, there's a lot of different types of orbs. Some look like fireballs and stuff. I mean, now I'm specifically looking into the ones that make crop circles for Friday night for my show. Nice. But but they're all different.
Definitely check that out. So. And that would be curious, like especially find out like if you can get especially with the information on there is like where, what these things are, just the physical, is it a manifestation or is it an actual? Because like you said, you have those ones where it transforms. Was that the energy? We'll use a Star Trek reference, the alien beaming down, but it comes in the version, you could say the orb might even be the portal itself. But that's what opens up, and then that's where the portal comes out. So
could be. I don't know. I'm looking into those on Friday though. We're gonna find
we'll have to check. Yeah, so Friday night.
Check back with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can watch the show.
Y'all tune in. Tune in Friday night. The Cryptid Huntress on YouTube.
Yeah, and that's the remote viewing investigations.
It is. Show? Yeah, okay. Remote viewing. Yes, and then Saturday and Sunday I have Spaced Out Radio. Off the Trails is my show.
So now, as we're wrapping up, is there anything we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. I mean, we covered a lot of good stuff, you wanted to talk about remote viewing and, I mean, I'm trying to think of all the things I've remote viewed.
What was your favorite thing? We'll do that. What was your favorite thing that you remote viewed?
Let's see. I think the Beast of LBL was my favorite, actually. I know it sounds dark for me to say that, but I actually was really, because I didn't know if it was even real, because there were just reports that this family had been murdered by a dog man. And I basically just wanted to find out if that was real. And it was real. It was real.
And then you have, and then what was your least favorite?
Let's see. Well, I did the Bell Witch. That was kind of boring.
Yeah, and that's where
It was a little
it's-
boring, but you know, it was fun. I like the Bell Witch, but you know, I did see some things that, you know, maybe the general public had been misled on a little bit, but that was the real thing. That was real haunting. So I liked it though. I mean, I never do anything I don't like. You know, I'm not going to remote view something that I'm not interested in finding out the truth about. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as just not having a lot of action to it, it was the Bell Witch. So.
Yeah, that was yeah, because you have sorry, had to answer a question of the producer here. And it was so that was one of the things. So, you know, in the mix you have that wide spectrum. What do you do in those instances, like real quick, like when you have like that where it's kind of boring? It's like how, you know, is it one of those where, because like I said, I don't remote view, so it's not like does it something where you just like, you know, like flip the switch, like, yeah, I'm tuning out. You know, and just, you know, and click it off and then just walk away. I mean, or is it something, you know, like almost like you said, like the Ouija board, when you do something like that, there's the process of closing the, you know, closing out.
Yeah, you have to close it out. I mean, I have my energetic ways of closing things down. You know, it's just all a matter of learning how to remote view and learning what works and how to protect your energy and stuff. But yeah, whenever the information stops flowing, and I don't have anything else to look at, or, you know, I'm just, you know, it gets boring or whatever, I close it down. And so, but yeah, I mean, it's never that boring. I mean, it's never boring. And so I don't want to make it sound like it's boring. It's just,
oh yeah, no,
you know, it's not as exciting as some of the other targets that I've done.
That would be that'd be probably the better way to phrase it. So
it's just mundane stuff, you know. I like action, so
yeah. And then there's one. I was just thinking of stuff for you. Have you ever thought about doing the Kandahar Giant?
I have thought about that actually. Yeah, that's on my list. So yeah. And if you have any suggestions, send them to me, because I mean, I'm always looking for something exciting to remote view. Yeah. So that's one that's really fascinating because of the idea that the Special Forces unit that, you know, that was sent out to find out the missing patrol, and as they were reaching the cave, the report is that a 12 to 13 foot giant came out and impaled one of the Special Forces. With a spear. Yeah. And then, you know, I think it was like a 30-second firefight, just opened up, and they ended up purportedly capturing this, you know, the corpse and then taking it away. But yeah, I mean, that would be one, like if you could find that information, that'd be fantastic. That would be a really cool one. And those are the kind of targets I really like doing too, is when you can find eyewitnesses to back up some of the data that I get and stuff. You know, that's what I like. You know, and especially with like the beasts of LBL, I didn't even know what that was. You know, I'm a Bigfoot researcher, and I didn't know a whole lot about Dogman. And when someone brought that up, I was like,
that was a fairly new one to me.
So yeah, but okay. So after I did that target, it was so disturbing to me. I actually was in contact with the head of the North American Dogman Project. Okay. And I sent him my data. He sent me some videos to watch, some like deathbed confessions of people who had seen, you know, the Dogman kill people on the property. I mean, these are deathbed confession tapes of people who worked on that property. So, wow. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, just secondhand accounts, things like that. They actually have it, you know, on recordings and stuff, on video. So he sent me a lot of that. Actually, I've got him coming on my show in a couple of weeks, so we're going to talk about that.
Awesome.
Yeah, we got Jody Cook's coming on, so y'all watch for that.
Yeah, I was talking about Jody. I just popped right as you said it. It was like came up on the screen, and that's and that's one of the cool. So definitely, you know, I'm going to bring up here while we're talking here. I'm going to bring up your site here for people to see it too. Here, so that.
By the way, also this Sunday I have D.A. Roberts coming on my show. We're going to talk about Dogman too. So
nice.
Y'all want to see? Yeah.
Tune in.
Yeah.
So right there's the old show here.
That's the old show. Yeah.
That's one.
It's Friday night. Yeah.
Friday, and then there you got the weekend ones.
Space Out Radio. That's right.
So check that out. And this is the cryptidhuntress.com. So you have
those are all my shows right there.
So you
Yeah,
go
those
check
are for
out.
this weekend.
There's
Yeah.
yep, there's a DA Roberts right here.
And Tyler. Yeah.
Yep. And then this picture right here. This looks like you know looks like you had an
Yes, one of my
awesome
campsites.
yeah. That looks like that was an awesome trip. And so
Oh yeah. Oh, it's every chance I get, I'm out in those woods.
and then you can also go right here to Facebook. And it's Cryptid
Yeah,
Huntress
I'm on
right
Facebook.
Yep, and you have that. So
Yeah.
go over there, click like, follow that, and like I said, go and get it's because it's definitely and that was one that said check out the remote viewing investigations because that's where I discovered what you're doing and I really, like I said, I really enjoyed that one that you did
Thank you.
with the Dyatlov Pass, and that's why I wanted to have you because I know a little. We've talked about it, but I don't really know it. I mean, it's one of those things I want to look into, but it's just when it comes to the actual remote viewing, it's kind of it's one of those things like some people have that ability, and it's such an amazing thing, and I don't want to say jealousy. It's just that thing where it's like how cool would that be to be able to do that yourself, So, but that just what makes cool to have people like yourself on the show because you know how to do it and I don't. That makes it much interesting. Sure.
Well, you can always learn. It just takes a while. You just got to do a bunch of targets to get good at it,
And that's,
anybody can do it.
Awesome. And that's one of those things too. And so, well, definitely, like I said, I'm going to tune in Friday night because I'm interested in seeing how, watching that show too. So, but Jessica, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm so glad to be here. Thank y'all so much.
Awesome. Yeah, we definitely have to do it again because, like I said, as we come in with crypto, especially, if you do, I mean, I would love to be involved. Have you on. I mean, obviously you got your own show to do, but it's like I would love to have you on if you do like the Kandahar Giant because that's one of those ones that always fascinates me. So.
All right, I'll make it a point to do that one soon. Okay.
Yeah, please think of us. Yeah,
next several weeks here, I'll do it. I promise.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for supporting the show. I mean, that was a fantastic. Like I said, we got a few people that sent us stars. We really appreciate that. That helps promote, helps us there. Fund the bills there. And so I want to thank everybody for watching. We've had a fantastic show. Please go support Jessica Jones on her site. Go to her site, thecryptidhuntress.com. Go YouTube, subscribe to her on that as well. We are rebroadcast every night. Wednesday night at 11 p.m. ish, depending on when Joey and Into the Outer Realms wraps up, and we follow that on ERRT Radio. That's every Wednesday. Go to patreon.com, join with Laura, become a Patreon, become one of the Beardos with us. We appreciate that. Redbubble.com, Three Beards Podcast, or you can reach that through threebeardspodcast.com in the merchandise. Support us there. And like I said, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, so keep that up.
But better yet, I told Craig if we get to 10,000, I'll take a celebrity fight. We need 10,000 subscribers for me to take a celebrity fight. So help us get there. Share our Facebook, share our YouTube, so we can get me a celebrity fight.
So we can watch Chris dodge the punches. It's gonna be like Anchorman. No touching of the hair or the face. Yeah, can only be body shots. That's it. Just body shots. So
I don't know about body shots, Greg.
So, but yeah, everybody, thanks again for watching. We appreciate it, and we will see everybody next Wednesday when we're going to have Victor Bangs on, and we are going to be talking Nostradamus and his prediction in the quatrains. So that's going to be a fun one. So, Jessica, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We will. Like I said, we'll be in touch. Like I said, look forward to the next one. Yeah, Kandahar Giants.
All right. Bye, y'all.
All right. So good night.